بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. It was related about the great Imam Hujjatul Islam Al-Imam Al-Ghazali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that he said about his brother and himself that in the beginning of their quest for knowledge, he said, we sought knowledge for other than Allah, but knowledge refused to be except for Allah. And what he meant by that was that his father had allotted a certain amount of money after he died so that him and his brother could be taken care of. When that money was exhausted, they went seeking knowledge so that they could get a position and thereby earn a living. But the more they learned the knowledge, what they realized that knowledge should only be sought for the sake of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala alone. Even if they acquired something from that, that should not be the purpose of doing it. So they sought knowledge for some worldly objective originally, but from learning that knowledge, it taught them, hey, I am for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And in that regard, in our time, seeking knowledge, seeking out sheikhs, seeking ijazat, going to universities, has become, unfortunately, for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for various other objectives that are other than Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So I wanted to remind myself and to remind you that the purpose of seeking sacred knowledge is so that we could fulfill the purpose on which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for. As Allah told us in the Quran, the meaning of which is, I did not create the human and the jinn except to order them with my worship. So we are created for ibadah, to direct ourselves humbly and submissively to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in all of our matters. And I was thinking about this morning, so it's my scattered thoughts. I remember when I first started studying with my teacher, Sheikh Samir. And I used to travel besides him to other teachers around the world seeking authorization to narrate from their routes. So seeking ijaza. A lot of students go through this. You know, I want to relate from so and so. I want an ijaza from so and so. I want an ijaza in this. I want an ijaza in that. And I travel the world doing that. And if I am honest, I had a whole lot of that to the point I had so many ijazas from different people that I started to wonder what's all this for, right? Like, okay, you have all these narrations, now what? When you kind of exhaust something to where I read a statement of one of the great scholars, Al-Hafiz Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi, and it was related that he said, there is not a scholar on the earth, nor a book, except, meaning Islamic book, except that I have an unbroken chain to it. And I reached a point in doing that and from noticing that, wow, that statement actually applies to me as well through him and through other routes. When you study these narrations, you start to realize Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah is one methodology and it all connects, such that if you truly acquired these this knowledge with these unbroken chains, no one can fool you, because those chains, they will connect at different points. And if you actually know them, you will identify someone who actually has that chain and someone who doesn't. And this happened to me. One time I was in Al Medina visiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I saw a great scholar from the subcontinent. Me and some other brothers, we were together, and one of the brothers pointed him out to me. I didn't see him myself, but we were in the Prophet's mosque, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and my friend who was with me, he said, there is so and so, the great scholar. So I immediately went to him. I'm not a shy guy. I went to him and I started talking to him, and I requested permission to authorize a certain book from his route, which I had already taken that book from Sheikh Samir. But the book that I took from Sheikh Samir was originally written for that particular scholar. But I already took it from Sheikh Samir. But that was a lower link because the author of the book wrote it for this particular sheikh. So I went to him to ask him for this narration, this book. And I will never forget this. He said to me, I cannot give it to you. How do I know you're qualified to narrate it? Right? I said, ask me about it. Right? That's one way. He said, from where did you learn it? So I told him my route. And then he said, okay, that's that. What about this and this? And I told him my routes from that and that and that. And he didn't hesitate to give me authorization in that book. And I said to myself, wow, if we know our stuff, he never saw him, he never saw me, from different parts. But because the Ahl Sunnah's chains are connected and they're proper, he was identifying that you can bear this trust, that if I gave it to you. And then he connected me to other sheikhs from his route that I didn't have at all in that authorization. So I was in this habit. One day I was with Sheikh Samir going back, and I used to, so I had general ijaza from all of his narrations, but that for me wasn't really sufficient. I didn't want the ijaza till I actually learned the book from him. So I had this type of extra thing. Okay, this is a general ijaza. You can relate from my route. I trust you and good. Okay, no, I want every single book. I want that I learned. I want ijaza in that book with your route to that book. So I was in this habit. And he would accommodate that. Then one day he said to me, and I will never forget it. I don't know what book it was, I forget. I guess I was just wearing them out. And he said to me, when I asked about the ijaza, we finished the book, and then I asked for ijaza. He said, "You have every ijaza. What more you need?" I said, "I don't have the ijaza in this book." He said, "I gave you everything. What more you need?" And then he said something to me that changed my whole outlook to this stuff. He said, "Did you hear the book?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Did I teach you it?" "Yes." "Did you understand it?" "Yes." He said, "So that's your ijaza. Whether I give you a ijaza written or not, if you learned, that's your ijaza." I never asked him for a ijaza after that. To the extent I wasn't even attending some sessions, I would attend just some of it because I wasn't in ijaza mode. So all I was into learning mode. So it didn't make a difference after that to me, right? And he had given out ijaza and I didn't come. So I think maybe a week went by. And I didn't say anything to him. I didn't ask. I didn't come. I didn't nothing about any ijaza. And then he came. He said to me, he said, "Bring me your book so I can give you ijaza." I said, "Sheikh, I missed some classes. I got what I got." He said, "I didn't mean for you to go that far with it." And he wrote ijaza because he wasn't really concerned about the ijaza. He was trying to teach me a lesson. Knowledge shouldn't be for other than Allah, not for ijaza either, right? So once I learned that lesson, then it was not harmful, right? Right. So my point of this discussion is don't go around looking for who you relate from, what sheikh, what scholar, who you learn from. Yeah, I got an ijaza from him and all these. Don't waste your time with that. Learn the knowledge. Because the other thing happens too. Sometimes you would have a person who gets an ijaza, a general ijaza, and if that person is not honest, they will go and teach based on something they don't understand, saying, "I got an ijaza for that." Right? But you don't understand what you're talking about. So you didn't get an ijaza because you didn't understand. So that's not an ijaza. Even if it's written, even if you have a certificate that they gave everyone, if you didn't understand, that's no ijaza. So when you say, "I heard from my teacher," and you're messing up what your teacher said, even if your teacher was negligent and authorized you, that's not an ijaza. That is a false claim, right? So even if the teacher wrote for you when there was a bunch of students, because no teacher would write for you if he was directly teaching you and you were making these kind of mistakes, right? So that means there was a general ijazah. Don't you take that general ijazah that you know you didn't learn and try to use it for status or for claims. You know you didn't learn. If anything, it was the blessing of you being connected to that chain, which is a nice thing. Say that. Don't say you learned. Say, I had the blessing of ijazah being connected to this teacher, and they honored me with that for the blessing. Don't say you learned. Don't say that. Because beyond it's not true, you make the teacher look bad too, right? Because you know your teacher wouldn't approve you making all of those mistakes. So don't attribute those mistakes to the teacher. They are your mistakes because you weren't a good student. So that's the moral of the story. Learn for the sake of Allah. Even if you're learning here with me and we're going over some things, learn it so that you can become a better Muslim and you can help someone else, inshallah. But don't learn it for other than that. And Allah knows best. We reached up to page 135 in our book. Let us begin with Al-Fatiha. Hold up, before we start, give me 1 second. Okay, inshallah, bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, as for remembrance that is not restricted to a set number, it is the remembrance that Allah Ta'ala encouraged us to do in all of our states and times without restricting ourselves to a predetermined number. He said, O you who believe, remember Allah Ta'ala abundantly. Surah Al-Ahzab, Ayah 41. The higher the believer's aspiration rises and the stronger his love is for Allah Ta'ala, the more he engages in his remembrance, for he who loves something remembers it often.
And here, so two things should exist in the one who remembers Allah if he wants to maximize and reach a high status in that remembrance. One of them is love, which is an obligation of the heart to have love of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And then the other one is himma, aspiration. And we should say lofty aspirations, high aspirations. Don't lower the bar for yourself. Raise the bar and work hard to ascend the ranks that makes you surpass the level of the bar. And when it gets there, raise it up, right? And it was the habit of the pious that they would compete with each other in good deeds and elevating their rank in remembering Allah, in praying, in giving charity, and all acts of worship they would be pushing themselves to higher and higher and higher levels of work and practice and states. Mm.
There is nothing wrong with the spiritual guide directing the aspirant to engage in a set amount of remembrance in order to raise his aspirations, strengthen his resolve, and repel laziness and neglect so he is among those who are frequent in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And that's why the spiritual guide for that disciple will be like a trainer, like someone who will push you beyond even what you think you're capable of. Sometimes the individual will take it easy on himself when he needs to put a little more extra energy in that work. That spiritual guide will recognize that in the disciple, in the aspirant, and then show him different ways to motivate himself to reach higher ranks. Mm.
The wordings and expressions of remembrance. Remembrance of Allah Ta'ala in all of its wordings is a medicine for the diseases of the heart and the defects of the ego. Among these expressions is saying, there is no God but Allah Ta'ala, sending prayers upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, seeking forgiveness, repeating some of Allah Ta'ala's beautiful names, among them the supreme name Allah, and so on and so forth. All of these remedies are extracted from the pharmacy of the Quran and Hadith.
And
Because
here, as a general weird, a general form of remembrances that you should have daily, night and day, are these three. Al-istighfar, seeking forgiveness in of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As-salah ala nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sending salutations on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And la ilaha illallah, at-tahleel, declaring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's oneness. Every spiritual aspirant, every seeker, everyone who is wayfaring and traveling the path to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala should have this as a general formula of dhikr that they do daily, night and day, even if you don't have a spiritual guide, right? That you do at minimum 100 times of seeking forgiveness of Allah, 100 times of Salah ala Nabi, and 100 times of La ilaha illallah, with various expressions, right? And as you become consistent in that, increase it to 300, to 600, to 1,000. And then, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favors you with the spiritual guide that matches your needs, then they will give you more. But also, you have the prophetic adhkar, his remembrances that are mentioned in the book of adhkar of Imam An-Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And all of those awrad, they are extracted from Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. Mm. Now,
because the expressions found in the supplications are numerous and varied, and because every expression possesses a particular effect on the heart, the spiritual guides among the esteemed Sufis, the spiritual doctors of the hearts, and the inheritors of the greatest messenger,
so
sallallahu
here you have the doctors of the mind, the people of Aqidah, Al-Mutakallimun. You have the doctors of the body, Al-Fuqaha. And you have the doctors of the hearts, As-Sufiya, the spiritual guides among the Sufis. Now,
and the inheritors of the greatest messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his invitation, guidance, and training, give permission for their disciples to recite certain formulas of remembrance that are appropriate to their particular states and needs, formulas that raise them up in their journey unto the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
and notice As-Sayr ilallah, the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, And he mentions specifically that is their journey to the ridwan of Allah, to the acceptance and the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. So you have this formula: al-ilm, al-amal, al-jannah, ridwanullah, right? You have this knowledge you're seeking, you're learning, you're implementing, that's going to lead to you al-jannah, where you will receive the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. So it's a journey through knowledge, through practice, through paradise, to the ridwan of Allah Ta'ala.
And this is similar to the doctor of physical bodies who prescribes his patients certain medicines and remedies that are best suited to them and their particular ailments. The same doctor can afterwards replace one prescription or remedy with another according to the patient's progress. For this reason, the spiritual aspirant and wayfarer must have a connection with a spiritual guide whose counsel he can seek and to whom he describe to his ailments, as well as describe to him the effects, spiritual benefits, states of his heart, and egotistic motives he finds in the remembrance. In
I
this
want,
manner,
I want you, go ahead.
the aspirant will climb in his spiritual journey and ascend in the highness of character and divinely bestowed knowledge.
I want to share something with you, which is a fallacy of our time. If you see a sheikh that easily accepts disciples, be careful of such a person. You have these people, especially the followers, right? The followers of these sheikhs, for instance, they always want you to join their group. I'm telling you from experience, spiritual masters or those who resemble them do not take followers easy. They will push you away. When you have this sheikh who's just bring him, bring you, join, you join, you join, watch this person. Real sheikh wants you with them. All this long distance spiritual guidance, don't pay it much attention, right? A real sheikh is going to be like this with you. There's going to be a special relationship between you and that sheikh. If you don't have that, man, cap. And there's a lot of that going on. If you're not like this with your sheikh, that you got to go through this one to go through this one, you never met him, that's not your sheikh. Your sheikh is one who you are like this. He knows you, you know him. He sees you, you see him. Y'all have a connection. That's a real relationship between the disciple and the sheikh. This modern, affiliation with no connection. You've never even talked to the sheikh. The sheikh's never, he doesn't even really know you. No, right? One time, someone went to one of my sheikhs, and I'm not talking about a spiritual guide. I'm talking about just a sheikh you really learn from. And one influential person said to him, Amin did this and this and this, and said this and this and this. The sheikh, without hearing it from me at all, he said, Amin would never say that. How do you think he was able to say that? There was an influential person who went to and said, he said this. And that sheikh said, Amin would never say that. You misunderstood. What did that come from? Relationship. 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 That's the kind of relationship you need with a real sheikh who knows your weaknesses and knows your strengths, knows your ups, knows your downs. In other words, he's been with you enough to know you inside out. That's how he can treat you, because he knows you. He knows you. That's like a doctor who you just go visit his office once, and he's going to treat you. If he's going to treat you, he doesn't know you. He doesn't know your history. He doesn't know your background. Where if you go to the doctor you've been seeing for 10, 15 years, 20 years, he's seen you in health and in sickness, mental depression, whatever, stress. He knows you. He knows how to treat you. He knows your family history. He knows this is a doctor who knows you as a patient. The sheikh should be like you with you in a spiritual sense. To the point that even in the physical sense. And the same way would go the other way. That same case, someone came to me, one student who was one of the general ijaza people. He just goes to the session of the sheikh, and the sheikh gave a general ijaza, and he walked around claiming he's a student of the sheikh. He was talking. He said something to me. I said, the sheikh didn't say that. He said, how you know you wasn't there? You're arrogant. I said, the sheikh didn't say that. Trust me, he didn't say that. You misunderstood. He said, I was there, you wasn't. I said, I know, but he didn't say that. Right? I said, go ask someone who was there with you. He didn't say that. He came back, he said, I'm sorry, you was right. How did you know that? I said, I knew the sheikh for decades. I've sat in his session. I've traveled with him. I've slept with him. I've ate with him. I've been around his family. I've been around his children. I've been in his classes, both public, both private. He ain't say that. He doesn't talk like that. His wording is not even like that. He doesn't even use those kind of words you use. I know he ain't say that. He doesn't even speak in that manner. These are the kind of relationships you want with your teacher. And if you have that kind of relationship, he will help you. He will be able to help you. So don't rush. Because I know when we read Tasawwuf, many people say, I'm going to go join the Tariqah. I want to be on this Tariqah. And you don't have the connection with the Sheikh, and that's no Tariqah. That's a club. That's a club, right? That's not Tariqah in this sense. That's a club. That's like joining a sorority or something, just with an Islamic name. Real Tariqah is relationships between the disciple and the sheikh. That's a tariqah. Not names, not clothes, not places. Relationship, heart to heart, body to body, soul to soul. That's tariqah. Do y'all follow my point? And Allah will send this one to you when it's your time. You don't even have to look. You just do your work. Right? You just do your work. Your work is the basics. Being excellent and following the Quran and the Sunnah, Allah will guide you. And I'm telling you, the real sheikh is going to reject you. They're going to test you. The real sheikh is going to reject you. It's not going to get easy. It's not going to be an easy task. He's not just going to sign you up until you send a check. And there's the answer. Boom. That's it. And make sure it's like that. You be ready, and what you need will appear. You get ready. You follow. You do what you're supposed to do. That's it. Naam, go ahead.
The legal ruling of remembering the single name Allah. It is permissible to engage in remembrance using the single name Allah. This is proven from the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember the name of your Lord and dedicate yourself to him. Surah Al-Muzammil, Ayah 8. And remember, and remember the name of your Lord morning and evening. Surah Ad-Dahr, Ayah 25. In the noble hadith narrated by Anas ibn Malik, rahimahullah,
Radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He's a Sahabi.
sorry, radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The last hour will not be established until there is no longer anyone on the earth who says Allah, Allah." Here we see the single name mentioned in repetition. In another narration from Anas radiallahu anhu, the Messenger of Allah Ta'ala
And here,
sallallahu
this is something that it should scare you. We shouldn't just pass by this. That the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the hour, as-sa'a, will not occur until there is no one on the earth as believers except they just know the name of Allah and nothing of the religion. That's a scary thought, right? Ultimately, to the name of Allah would disappear. So slowly, 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 knowledge would disappear. Knowledge would disappear, and claims would be right. Yesterday, I heard someone teaching, and it almost made me want to stop teaching. Thinking about this hadith and other hadith with its meaning. I was listening to someone, and I said to myself, I wonder, do I sound like that? If so, I should stop, because that person should stop. I was really, 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 it really crossed my mind. Because that person was deluded into thinking they were a teacher and a leader and said Imam. And I not exaggerate. They were reading a book and they didn't pronounce one word right. I'm not exaggerating. They were reading a classical Islamic text and they didn't read one word. I'm not talking about they made mistakes. Not one word was read correctly. And they called themselves an imam and they were teaching and they didn't have any shyness. And I really, really was not criticizing them. I looked at myself, I said, man, are you like that and don't realize it? Because I don't think no one would do that and realize what they're doing. I don't think no one would do it consciously and realize that. And I thought about myself. I said, wow, that's scary. Can you be that deluded? That's scary. It really, 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 and honestly, I was not even thinking about the person. I was talking to my wife. I said, listen to this. Not one word. I'm serious. Not a word. Not one word read correctly. Every single word a mistake. But Imam, on like teaching, I said, seriously? And debating. I'm like, you can't be serious. And claiming to have ijazah and sheikh in the book that they're reading. Come on, man. Black, are we don't got no more shyness at all? Zero? I'm not saying you don't make mistakes. We're human. Everyone makes mistakes. We make mistakes all day. I'm talking about not one word, not one word correct. And don't stop and say, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Keep going. It's sad. And I say to myself, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It's a scary thing. We have to teach, yes. And I understand we don't have scholars around us. We're struggling, but we have to put in some effort. I understand we have to do what we have to do because of the conditions, but it cannot remain like that. And we have to get better. We cannot be that cannot be acceptable. And I'm going to be honest, some of us here be sharing that stuff. That means you're not listening at all. That you're learning in these sessions and you share that. Either you don't listen or I'm a complete failure. One or the other. I don't know which one it is. Maybe I'm a complete failure. But whatever it is, I need to improve and you need to start listening if you're sharing that. Seriously. Don't be responsible for misguiding people. Don't be responsible for that. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And an advice to all of us. We don't know, we're learning. Even what we think we know, we don't know well. We're learning. So don't stop your learning process, right? Don't harm us. We harmed enough. Don't harm us more, right? We're harmed enough as a people. Don't do more. Bad ideas has already jacked us up. Don't jack us up in the name of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Don't do that. Sit down and learn. It's okay. If you want to teach, you want to spread, you want to do a da'wah, that's noble. But you should learn first. Honestly, I was listening to a group of them messing up the attributes of Allah. This is a foundational stuff. You can't even explain the basics of the creed without messing it up. This is horrible. This is sad. It's not funny. It's not the basics of the creed. What is a personal obligation on every morally responsible individual? You're screwing that up. The basic foundational attributes of Allah, you're messing that up. And you want to lead. Stop. Save yourself and your families and everyone else. Go learn. And listen, as I told these individuals before, I will help you. You're making major mistakes. I will help you. I give you teachers, whatever. Please learn and stop. Don't let your ego run away from you. Take you to hell. Stop. Sit down and learn. Sit with them. Really. Stop hiding behind the computer on the line. Sit face to face with a real living teacher. They will not let you do that. Sit face to face with a real living teacher, not in the group, not hiding in the back, not online in the comment section. No, face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart, breath to breath with a real living teacher. You won't do that. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. Don't embarrass yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a sheikh. You don't have to be a leader to spread the deen. But you do have to know the deen. And you cannot make those mistakes. They're not acceptable. Don't do that. And the cure to that is just sit down and learn and humble yourself. You should learn. You know you should learn. Just sit down and learn. And then as you learn, convey. No one's telling you don't convey. They're saying learn before you convey and learn properly. And then go convey all you want. And you're encouraged to do that. But you should learn first and make sure you properly understand because this religion is a trust. And every teacher is conveying a trust. You have to learn. Put your ego down. Put your ego down. Put your ego down. I'm only mentioning that because really this this is this is something we should be aware of and we should be cautious, right? And I don't want our mistakes to scare us from doing good deeds. No, I'm just saying make sure we take the proper steps. You're human, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to forget. You're going to that's going to happen for everybody. I don't care who you are. But you know when you put in the you know when you did your work first. And you know when you were hiding in the class. It's impossible that you would sit with a sheikh and he would have let that go. It's impossible. There is no way you read a book with a teacher like that and he didn't say anything. And if the teacher lets you do that, he should be arrested and put in prison for life. There is no way in the world you sat with a teacher and he let that go by. If he did, he should be arrested and put in prison for life. These are not simple mistakes that a teacher should overlook. This is a catastrophe for our religion. And any teacher who allows that go should, I would go further, more than life. He really should be executed, but I'm not going to go that far. He should be in prison for life. To allow that to happen in his name. And he agreed to that. He sanctioned you. He said, I give you ijaza. He said that? Really? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Or are you lying on him? Are you fabricating? I'll give you an example to show you what I'm talking about. I am not qualified to relate the Quran from Sheikh Samir. I can't. He didn't authorize me to do that. So if you saw me teaching the Quran talking about Sheikh Samir gave me ijaza, I'm a liar. I learned other things. I didn't learn that from him. And I could never attribute myself to him in that. That would be a crime. Do you understand my point? There's a difference. Now I learned this and I learned that and I learned that and I learned that. Yes, I didn't learn that. I didn't. So someone comes, you study with Sheikh Samir. I didn't learn that with Sheikh Samir. I didn't. I can't do it. This one can. I could tell you who can do it. I know he did. And I can tell you which one is good and which one is bad of his students. Because I heard him say that. Take from this one, don't take from that one. I heard him with my own ears. And I'm not among them. But I know which one. I heard him. I've heard him more than once. I heard him say who and who not. I heard him tell people that you're not that good. You just need to review. There's a difference. So don't do that. It's not fair to your teacher. For your ego, don't harm the reputation of your teacher. Your teacher didn't authorize you to do that. No teacher in the world would do that. I'm sorry. That's just a reminder for myself and for others, right? It's a reminder for myself and for others. Don't do that. Mistakes and fabrication are two different things. Don't mix them. They're not the same, nor are they equal. You may make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Scholars make mistakes, right? But fabricating is not a mistake. That's something different. And don't mix them up. I just went on a scattered thought. Please. No, it's serious because some of us, this is related to the basics of the creed. This is not like advanced stuff. This is basic stuff. Basic. And you messing that up. What about when you're going to try to teach advanced stuff? You didn't even you messing up the basics. You're going to go teach advanced stuff? You don't even know the basics. And you talking about you're going to teach the science of hadith or usul al-fiqh. Come on, man, would you stop it? You want to be a leader? This is sad. And what's sad, that goes in our community unchecked. No one says anything. Just go ahead. Who cares? Go misguide people. Not saying, come here, let me help you. No, you got to learn. I'll help you. Even since you're going to do it, let me help you. You're going to do it anyway. Let me help you. That's my offer. You're going to do it anyway. So let me help you so you don't keep making these mistakes. How about that? You're going to do it anyway. Let me help you so you don't keep making those mistakes. That's my, what they call it, white flag. You're going to do it anyway. Let me help you so you don't keep making those mistakes. Sorry, I got drifted. But it hurt me to see it, honestly. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Yeah, I can't help it. If you see what I see and you feel what I feel, you wouldn't remain silent either. Right? If you see what I see and you feel what I feel, you wouldn't remain silent either. And especially you as a Maliki. As a Maliki, you should be insulted when you hear this stuff. As a Maliki, and you listen to people claiming your madhab doing that, you should be insulted. As a Maliki, you, not me, you as a Maliki, see people doing that to your madhab, you should be insulted. You talking about the Imam of Darul Hijrah. You don't have to know what I'm talking about. Stand up for your madhab. Go learn it and teach it properly so nobody can butcher it. You don't have to know what I'm talking about. Go learn your madhab well, learn it well, and teach it so no one else can butcher it. Teach it in your black community correctly. So I'm calling all African American black Malikis to stand up and teach the madhab of Imam Malik correctly. Okay? All African American black Malikis, calling all black Malikis, Learn your madhab well and teach it so others don't destroy it. It is a pure, authentic madhab of Ahl Sunnah that is being hijacked by unlearned people. You need to defend your school. Right? You need to defend your school. Now you get my point? There are people butchering your school of thought, and you are remaining silent. You need to learn your school well, and you need to defend it and spread it and share it. And I will offer you a platform to teach it if you can't reach the people, if you learn it well. Because the madhab of Imam Malik is being destroyed in our community by unlearned people. In the black community, the madhab of Imam Malik is being destroyed by unlearned people. Don't let that happen. That madhab is pure, with an unbroken chain, qualified scholars. Don't let that happen. Really? Okay, I went overboard. But it's important. And we have a saying, especially among the Sufis, fil ishara ibara. In an indication is a clear expression. Can y'all put that up? In the indication is a clear expression. In the indication is a clear expression. Where did I leave off at? I'm sorry. Oh, right there. The next hadith from Anas, we're going to explain, right?
Correct.
Al-Alama Ali Al-Qari, right?
Correct.
We'll stop there. So you Malikis, please step it up. Now you should get mad and do your work. Right? And we have Imam Naim, who's doing one-on-one Maliki classes. I suggest any of you who want to learn the Maliki madhab, go to someone you know and trust. Imam Naim is, where's Sister Samira? Where's that link? Where's your link for that? Put it up, please. Sister Samira, Imam Naim, Imam Genius, where's that link for the private classes? Where's it at? Where are they at? Are they here? Are they sleeping? I don't know where the link is. Let me see. Hold on. Who has that link? Isa, where's your love, man? Where's the link for Imam Naim's private classes for Maliki Fiqh? Where is the link? Let me see if I can find it. Where is the link? Okay, good. Let me see if I can find it. There. Is the class on that link? Is that directly to it? I'm sorry, I'm done, but I'm just trying to find this link for Imam Naim. I will give him the blues later. He's supposed to be here. I am sleepy. I'm a busy Imam. One second. Look at this. Make dua for Imam Naim, all his people. You can't even put the flyer up. Come on, guys. So it's there at the bottom of this link. Okay. Well, anyway, you can you can inbox Imam Naim for the brothers and Sister Samira for the sisters. For all of you who want to learn Maliki fiqh, contact Imam Naim, right? And get that process started. Really, because a lot of people want to learn Maliki fiqh, and you have to learn it right. You cannot just not do it yourself, Islam. It doesn't work at all in any school. But what I'm seeing happen in the Black community to the Maliki school is scary to me, right? And that school is too honorable and too noble to allow what is happening. We shouldn't do it. So that is my pitch for today. Sister Nafisa Abdurrahman, I don't claim any particular sect. That's just for me. I am a believer and follow the Quran and the Sunnah of our beloved Prophet. MashaAllah, I would suggest to you to go to our classes on the reliance of the traveler that we had over the last month or so. And in those classes is an answer to your question or to your statement. And no need for me to do that here. But if you really want to know about this issue, we did a whole bunch of classes on that subject, and you can refer to it in the Reliance of the Travel classes, and they're online, inshallah. Barakallahu bikum. May Allah reward you all. This is my suggestion to you. For those who are following the Maliki school, you are Shafi'i, you're good here. We have many Shafi'i teachers, and we got your back, right? Don't worry about that. We have multiple Shafi'i teachers to help. So for the Shafi'is, for the Hanafis, we're working on that. But you have a lot of Hanafi teachers around. So we need to protect the madhabs of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and that they're learned properly and authentically with trustworthy texts, right? With proper explanations, right? We need that, right? We need that. And as I said in closing, mistakes are not fabrications, and fabrications are not mistakes. Mistakes are not fabrications, and fabrications are definitely not a mistake. So may Allah help us. Barakallahu bikum. I hope that this was of some benefit to you all. But take this stuff serious. It's our deen. Don't take it lightly. Jazakumullahu khaira. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.